You're listening to the Live Fit podcast with Glenn Johnson. Here, we'll talk about all things related to good health, fitness, food, fat loss, and the mind-body connection.
Yes, it is time once again for the Live Fit podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Johnson. This is episode 41. Today, I'm going to talk about New Year's resolutions and how you can plan your fresh start. This is the holiday season in America, and my house is bursting with Christmas spirit. My wife and kids are downstairs cooking and baking and decorating. There's music on. It's warm and loving. It's a really comfortable atmosphere, and I have nothing else to do today but make this podcast. I'm so excited. This episode is about goal setting and planning and success. I'm going to talk about when and where to begin, the properties that make up a good goal, the benefits of making your goal objective, and of course, reevaluations. And then towards the end, I'm going to include an interview with my 9-year-old daughter as she tells us her goals for next year. Then I will conclude with my spiritual, social, physical, and professional goals for next year. Every now and then, I like to check in with a client of mine and find out how they're doing. And recently I was speaking with Wayne. He's been a client for about a year now. He started with Live Fit and then he rolled into my telephone coaching. We speak once a week. And on our last call, this is what he said to me.
I remember my mother, she was a pretty good cook, and she believed that you should eat everything on your plate. And if I didn't eat everything on my plate, she would get after me usually. So that kind of set in motion that you shouldn't just stop eating when you're not hungry, but eat until there's nothing left on the plate. And then to be sociable, you should probably have seconds where the cook might be insulted. So that was kind of the way I grew up. I kind of changed my holiday eating. This year I had one plate of food. It was plenty of calories, but that's all I had. And I didn't have dessert. It sounded kind of good, but I said I'm not really hungry, so I didn't have dessert. And then I had dessert a few hours later. When I go out to eat, I would usually almost always overeat then. But a lot of times my wife and I will split an entree instead of both having an entree, because I think most restaurants tend to give you a little too much, when you order it, in America anyway. The other thing I did was drinking became a habit. Even if I didn't feel like drinking, I would tend to drink, not 7 nights a week, but probably 4 or 5. And now I try to plan ahead when I'm going to drink or not. And sometimes I'll just drink diet tonic with lime in it, and it feels like you're drinking, but you're not having all the calories. And so now I drink either 2 or 3 times a week, most situations. I think Glenn's program has changed my mindset, and I'm slowly losing weight. I started out at 225. Now I'm down to about 203 or so. And my lipids were sky high. They were like 800, which was really bad, normal being up to about 300. And last summer, they were down to about 375. And I've lost about 6-7 pounds since then, so they're probably even better. And I've lost inches off my hips, waist, and chest because I've measured myself about 3 times. And my daughter noticed when I played tennis that I was getting the balls that I didn't used to get to, and thought I would seem definitely faster and quicker on the court. So overall, I feel better, and I'm losing weight. My cholesterols are down, but it's not like I'm unhappy. I still feel like I enjoy eating and get to eat things I like. I just do it in a more rational, balanced way. So this program of Live Fit was really helping.
Thanks, Wayne. I really appreciate you sharing that with everybody. I think it gives them a better sense of what they can achieve through one of my Live Fit programs. And he started with Live Fit Classic, and then he rolled into the Live Fit Phone Health Coaching, where we speak once a week. And that works to keep him guided in the right direction, answer any questions he has, give him some ideas of what he can do instead of what he wants to do, and really just keep him on the tracks in the right direction. And for a year now, he's been going great. And he's told me before, too, that if it wasn't for our weekly calls, he definitely would have drifted back into his old habits. So I know these habits that you have had since a kid do not change overnight. Just because you want it to, just because there's a wedding or summer coming up or an important vacation, they're not going to change for life overnight. All right, now I'd like to get on with episode 41, New Year's resolutions and how you can plan your fresh start. And towards the end, I will have the interview with my daughter so she can share her goals for 2015. Catch you on the flip side. The new year is a great time to make a fresh start. People often make these grand resolutions at New Year's Eve parties. Most of these include health or fitness goals in some way. Most are pretty lofty and unrealistic, and unfortunately, most of these will end in failure because they were not well thought out or planned out. As I think back on this subject, I'm reminded of an episode of Friends. Ross made a New Year's resolution to do something different every day. It, of course, got him into a lot of comedic hot water, but the point he was making was that he wanted to experience new and different things. A resolution, by definition, is simply this: a course of action determined or decided on. In other words, a goal. When should you begin? Well, generally I tell people the best time to begin on a goal is right now. As soon as you know what you want to do, now is the best time. Sit down, formulate a plan, write down your goal, and then move forward as soon as everything is in place. It shouldn't take a specific day of the week or day of the month or time of the day to set a goal into action. However, I can't ignore the fact that New Year's, the first of the year, is a really good benchmark, a time starter to really focus on. People tend to gravitate around these types of landmarks in our lives. We have the holidays, and we seem to live our life from one to the next, from one Monday to the next weekend. And the new year is a really great time to say, all right, let's start fresh. Let's start over. Let's do this right this time. And maybe you've tried this before and it hasn't worked. Well, that's what I'm here for. I'm going to show you how to make a realistic goal that you can achieve that will last for a lifetime. A goal or a resolution, if it is going to have a chance at being successful, must have the following. 1, it must be objective. 2, it must be specific. 3, it must be meaningful. 4, it must be obtainable or realistic. And 5, it must be planned. It cannot happen by happenstance. I suggest keeping a goal journal. This could be a small notebook or any sort of record. I do recommend that it is paper, so you write with your hand on paper. If you really, really must use a tablet or a smartphone or a computer, go ahead. I think you will be much more successful and you will make these goals more realistic if it's tangible, something on paper written with your own hand. This notebook is going to be like a roadmap for your future. Occasionally I'll feel like I'm drifting aimlessly in life and I don't know why, and then I realize that I haven't looked at my goal book in a while. So I sit down and I look at it, and it brings me back to reality, brings me back to the big picture, shows me where I want to go, where I've been, how I'm going to get there. It puts me back on track. Now, once you create your goal book, and I'm going to go over that in just a little bit, it is really easy to forget. So maybe pick a date of each month to revisit it. The first of the month, for example, or the 15th, or the last day, whatever works for you. Pick a date, write it on your calendars, just so you don't forget it. A simple analogy for this goal journal or goal book, if you will, is similar to a map or directions. Let's say you're trying to find a building in a new city. So you don't know the city, you don't know where the building is. You have to follow directions. Maps or a list of directions are imperative in this type of situation. And you might find it eventually, but it's going to be probably a circuitous route and not very efficient. So a map or some series of directions, which essentially turns into goals, is really a fantastic way to get to where you're going. There's a lot of distractions on the way, and it's really easy to get lost. If you plan your path ahead of time, it will keep you from becoming lost. All right, now that you have your goal book in hand, where should you begin? Before planning your future, I think it's really important to look at your past. What was your New Year's resolution or goals last year, or the last time you did this? Were you successful? Why or why not? Now evaluate to see if you want to work on one of those goals or perhaps create a brand new one. Now look at the areas in your life that you want to improve. You could choose a goal from any or all of the following categories: spiritual, social, physical, or professional. After evaluating your past year of successes and struggles and choosing which categories your goals fall into, now move on with claiming your goal. Number 1, make your goal objective. Ideally, your goal will be objective enough that a stranger can look at some evidence to see that you have accomplished what you set out to do, or see how far you've come at least. As an example, if a person were to quit smoking, it would be pretty evident over the course of a day or two if they have actually quit or not. In contrast, a goal of, let's say, I want to get fit, is a subjective goal, and a stranger would not be able to know if the person is any fitter than they once were. Which brings me to point number 2. You must be specific. You may think it goes without saying, but the above example, I want to get fitter, is not very specific. Yet, it is the most common goal I hear from people. What would be a specific goal relating to improving your fitness? How about, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to run a mile. Or I want to do my age in push-ups. These are all examples of objective and specific goals. Next, write down why this goal is meaningful to you. After you write down all your goals, write down why it's important to you. This may seem silly. It may seem like a no-brainer. It may seem really obvious to you because you're you, you know you, but yet this is the sort of thing that fades away in time. It's very important to write it down because partially that makes it real. But next, I want you to read it out loud to yourself so you can hear what it sounds like. Is this a solid enough reason to help you through the hard times while you're working towards this goal? Is this reason strong enough to get you through all the hard work that it's going to take? If so, fantastic, keep it. If not, maybe alter your goal or see if there's another reason why you really want it. Maybe you're not saying why you really want it. I find writing it down with my hand ingrains it in my brain much more strongly than just thinking it or typing it on a computer. Number 4, your goal must be obtainable. I've met a lot of people who have great distances to go before they are in the condition, the physical condition that they want to be in. They may have 100 pounds to lose before reaching their healthy ideal weight. This is a daunting number. 100 pounds is a lot of excess body weight to lose. But ignoring that will not help. But what will help is focusing on the task at hand in small, bite-sized pieces. So if a person wants to lose 100 pounds, let's focus on the first 10. 10 pounds, that's it. No more. Focus on losing 10 pounds. That is a significant start. If you focus on those 10 pounds, you will succeed in losing 10 pounds. You will have a little win to put under your belt. And with that, you have some energy and some motivation to take you to the next 10 pounds. Face it, 100 pounds is really overwhelming and daunting. You're not going to lose it in less than 10 to 12 months. If you do, I can almost guarantee you that it will come back. But more than likely, you're going to get discouraged along the way. So focus on a small bite of what you want to accomplish, and only that small bite until you reach it, till you're successful. Then focus on the next bite, one step at a time. Have a plan. Every goal needs a plan, or else it's just haphazard wandering around, taking what you can get. I mean, think about where you are now. Did you get there by accident, or was that your plan? Chances are by accident, if we're talking about something you want to change. This map analogy that I gave earlier is a pretty good one here. Yet some goals are so large that they have to be achieved in sections, similar to what I just said about taking small portions of your weight. Now consider this. If you want to drive from the West Coast to the East Coast on back roads only, that's pretty daunting to think of the whole thing over time. That's, 3,000 miles. But what if you were going to do it day by day? Let's just look at one day at a time. I'm going to drive 400 miles and go to this town and stay in this town. And that's your whole goal for the day. And then once you're there, you look at the map and you decide where you're going to go the next night, and then where you're going to spend the next night, and maybe some tourist attractions you want to see along the way. This is what I mean about having a plan, but taking it at small pieces at a time. Don't look at the big picture, look at the small ones. Of course, you need to see the big picture so you continue moving in the right direction, but don't focus on it because it's going to be overwhelming. Now, you've been writing all these things down in your journal, in your goal book. It's time to evaluate. Give it a month or so. I would suggest the same day of the month, every single month. So after you've written these down, a month later, take a look at them and evaluate. How are you doing? Do you still believe in this goal? Is it still important to you? Have you made some progress? What have been your hurdles? What have been your challenges, your obstacles? How about your victories and your wins? Write all of these down. Say, hey, I was doing great, and then I had to work late, so I missed my gym visit. But the next day, I worked out extra hard, and so that made up for it. Write those things down because they will matter. You're going to get to a point where you reach the doldrums, where you are no longer excited and thrilled and motivated because it's brand new and you know you're making changes, but you're also kind of far, seemingly, from the finish, and you can't quite see the light at the end of the tunnel. That is the dangerous section. Those are the doldrums. So keeping this goal book is going to help you get through those. What if you just don't want to do it anymore? What if you think this goal isn't right? It's really important to be open to change, but for the right reasons. Evaluating your goals is an important way to not only track your progress, but also to determine if you still find this goal valuable. Avoid emotional decisions, though, as this is most likely going to occur in the doldrums when things get tough. But that's another reason why you keep it all written down in a book, so you can look at it a little bit more rationally, a little bit more objectively. Change your goals after a couple months if you truly believe that a change will be beneficial. Try to avoid simply changing for emotional reasons or because it's difficult. Anything worth having is worth working for, but don't waste your time on a meaningless goal that is out of your reach, because priorities do change. Now I'm going to play my interview with my 9-year-old daughter, Astrid. Hello, everybody. I am here with my daughter, Astrid.
Hi.
She's 9 years old, and I brought her on because I wanted to talk to her about something that's on a lot of people's minds this time of year, and that is the new year. More specifically, I wanted to talk about New Year's resolutions and goal setting for the next year, for 2015. Astrid, do you know what a New Year's resolution is?
Yes, a New Year's resolution is when people want to have a goal and do better at something or do something more.
Why do you think it's common for people to do it for New Year's or for the new year?
So they can be more successful through the year, and so they can do more.
Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
Yes, I do. I want to be not as shy than last year. I don't want to be that shy.
Good, good. I think that's a great one for you because it does tend to hold you back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do you have any others?
Yeah, I want to eat healthier foods. Like more of my veggies than sweets.
You don't eat that many sweets now, but
Right.
you eat more than I would like you to.
Right.
Is that all?
No, I also want to be more responsible, like do more things around the house.
Ooh, I like that one. I think Mom's going to like that one too.
Yeah.
What kinds of things around the house?
Like my chores and brushing my teeth and cleaning my dishes.
Without being told.
Right.
Right. Now, one thing that's important when establishing a goal is that it's important to you. Otherwise, who cares? You're just going to forget about it. And so many people make these New Year's resolutions and they work towards it for a month or so, and then then they fall back into their old habits because they didn't really pick one that is realistic or one that's important to them, or maybe they didn't establish why it's important to them. So why is it important for you to not be shy?
It's important to me so I can have more friends and meet new people.
Oh, good. You might not believe this, but I am really pretty shy underneath, and I've been shy most of my life. And when I tell that to people, it's generally in a situation where I'm not being shy. But I am really shy around strangers and new situations and new gatherings. If you put me into a party full of people I don't know, I would just melt off into the background and hide in a corner. So I totally understand what you're talking about, but it has held me back many times in my life. Many times I wish I wasn't so shy. Why is being more responsible important to you?
So my parents can trust me more.
Yeah.
So you can trust me more, and so I can be better at things.
Good. I like it. I like it. And how about eating healthier? Why is that important?
So I can be healthier through my life.
Well, now is the time to establish those good habits. So I wholeheartedly agree with you for making that a goal, because pretty much every one of my clients established bad eating habits when they were about your age. And it's really, really hard to change when you've been eating a certain way for 20 years, or especially when you developed your eating habits when you're a kid, because right now you're establishing everything, your personality and your eating habits for the rest of your life. So, and incidentally, everybody, I did not coach her on these goals. She came up with them all by herself, but I'm very proud of them. Thank you.
Welcome.
Now, one thing that often eludes people is having a plan for their goals. They don't think about how they're going to make these goals happen. They don't put a plan in place, and they don't make room in their schedule for, let's say, going to a gym every day or every other day. What are you going to do to make sure that you become less shy and more responsible and eat healthier?
I could put notes. I could have notes, so I would remember.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And
Put notes up around the house, you mean?
Yeah.
In your room?
Yeah.
Put one in the bottom of the donut box?
No.
No, we don't have a donut box.
I could put one on the bathroom mirror.
Good, good. It's also a good idea to check in and see how you're doing. Don't wait until next December. Check in 2 or 3 months to see how you're doing. When do you think would be a good time to check in on your progress?
On my birthday.
Oh, Astrid Fool's Day. That's perfect. That's about 3 months from now. I think that would be a good time to check in on your goals and see how you're doing. So we'll check in again. I'll put a note on my calendar. You put a note on your calendar. So April 1st, we'll see how Astrid's doing with becoming less shy, becoming more mature, and eating less sweets. Deal?
Deal.
Good job.
Okay.
Thanks, honey.
Bye.
Okay, now it's time for my goals for next year. In the spiritual category, I've decided to continue from last year. I'm going to carry over my goal to meditate on a regular basis. I was only successful meditating about 6 to 8 times all of last year. This next year, my goal is to meditate at least once a week. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but compared to once every other month, I think once a week is pretty good. Ideally, I would like to meditate every single day, but that is too overwhelming for me to put into my schedule at this time. I need to find meditation more useful and comfortable before I can do it more often than that. My social goal is I want to become more friendly and outgoing to strangers. I really am a shy and introverted person. I don't always come across that way when I'm in a comfortable surrounding with people I know, but I really am shy, and unfortunately, this often comes across as me being an unfriendly person and not wanting to talk to people. Third, my physical goal is I want to give CrossFit a solid effort. I made this goal last year too, and I failed at it. I didn't do CrossFit once, not in an official CrossFit session. I did some CrossFit workouts, but not in a class. I want to do CrossFit at least 3 times a week for 4 weeks over the course of the year. If I do it that much, I'll know whether it's for me or not. I think I'll really excel at it, but I was not willing to give it that effort. And last, professional. I am going to continue to improve my knowledge base on everything that I do here to help you live fit and healthy for the rest of your life. The bottom line to all this is, to make a fresh start, you need to have a smart, realistic plan that you do follow. You need to evaluate it frequently. Keep your goal in mind. Think on it often. Because in April or June, it's going to be really easy to forget something that you thought about while you were drinking at a party on New Year's Eve. So if you don't write this down, if you don't keep it on the forefront of your mind, if you're not reminded of it frequently, it's going to drift away, and next year at this time, you're going to say, oh yeah. So put it on paper, put it on your calendar, tell a friend, make it public. But most of all, don't neglect it. If it's worth it to you, you will do it, but you have to make it important. Change is difficult. Believe me, I know. But if you really want it, you will do it. I think this will help you. Happy holidays.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Live Fit podcast. Please keep those reviews coming in iTunes and Stitcher Radio. You can subscribe, read show notes, articles, resources, and learn more about weight management programs at livefitpodcast.com. Once again, thanks for listening, and always remember to live fit.